Josh here from Inside Wrestling Truth, and my guest today is the real deal, Derek Neal. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Doing great. Great to be on here. Thanks for having me, Josh.
No problem, man. Thank you. First, tell us where you're from and who trained you.
I'm originally from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Um, I started training at actually 2 weeks before my 17th birthday. Um, trained with Chris Michaels and Chase Stevens also trained me some. But I also had a lot of guys help me along the way as far as like learning. Guys like Todd Morton, Bull Payne, Simon Dean would help me out a little bit when I worked for Mitch Ryder up in Indiana. I was just a few years in the business, but man, I learned so much during that time, and I've had a lot of good veterans to be around me. I was glad that I was smart enough to keep my mouth shut and listen to those guys, coming up.
How long have you been in the business?
Let's see. I started, like I said, 2 weeks before my 17th birthday. I had my first match 6 months later, and I was still training while performing. So that means as far as like actually like actively wrestling in front of a live crowd, it's been 11 years this February.
And how did you get into wrestling? Was you a fan as a kid, or?
Oh yeah, huge man. My grandfather, he was a big wrestling fan growing up, and he used to tape a lot of the events for me, and he sent me home with a tape when I was 5 years old, and it was the match that made me know for sure that I wanted to be in the business and be a wrestler was Steamboat Savage at WrestleMania 3. I knew right then and there, that's what I wanted to do, man.
How do you get into heel mode? What motivates you?
What motivates me? I don't want to come off like a dick, but I love being hated. I like being cussed. I like people just dogging me to no end. It's even better if people throw shit at you and stuff like that. I mean, it always excited me more being a heel. I mean, just getting to go out there is enough motivation for me. You know, I guess maybe in natural, outside of wrestling, maybe I'm just an asshole. I guess I don't know, but it's just I've always liked to be hated. It's fun. It's a rush. I mean, the feeling is so good. It's hard to explain, but I just love it, man.
Is it true wrestling is like a religion in Tennessee?
To an extent, but like the thing that gets me is you know, I mean, I've never really been anywhere or done anything, but like some of the guys, the local guys down there, they're still stuck on the Memphis thing, and I mean, it does work. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you gotta throw some of the newer style in it because I mean, let's face it, the business has changed,
Yeah.
and when I worked in Tennessee, like I worked my strong style, but I threw that Southern psychology in there, to make it work, and I was able through trial and error over the years, I was able to pull it off, where I could at least get good reactions out of the people and be able to put on my style that makes me unique, as a wrestler. It makes me as original as possible, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Do you have a favorite match in your career so far? Or?
Um, Man, that's a tough one. I worked with some really awesome guys over the years. Um, Probably Chad Collier. I'd have to say Super Metal Master. I wrestled him in XCW Midwest for Mitch Ryder. It was back in 2010, I believe. He just come back from Japan doing the Super Metal Master gimmick, and that guy is it's phenomenal how good he was, especially with his technicality. At that time, I only been wrestling maybe 5-6 years, so I still need a lot of polishing, and at that point, and I mean, you know, he really helped me out a lot in that match. I learned a lot from it, and it was really fluid. We just clicked, you know. But that's really one that really sticks out in my mind. I've had so many. Um, you know, I had a lot of good matches with my trainer Chris, and I worked Kyle O'Reilly like back in not long after he signed with Ring of Honor for Main Event Championship Wrestling. Um, they I can't remember the guy's name that ran it, but he ran like Monroe City, Indiana, and places like that. I worked with Kyle in a small town, Cannleton, Indiana, is where we wrestled with each other, and that was a really good match. There's just so many.
Yeah.
I can't really like pinpoint on a total favorite.
What's been your worst injury?
My worst injury is probably going to be my shoulder. I kind of had a bad bout there in 2011 up until the end of 2012. I had a broken wrist and two surgeries between 2011 and 12. The shoulder was really bad. I jammed it into the mat, the side of the shoulder. I did it up at IPW in Indianapolis, and I thought I just separated it, you know, and I've dealt with that before in my career with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I was wrestling about 3-4 nights a week, sometimes 5. You know, I was in the gym about 5 to 6 days a week. You know, I just kept pushing through, and when the fracture of the collarbone healed, it bone spurred over my rotator cuff. Started chewing away at it. So I had to undergo surgery March of last year. They had to shave down my tendons because they couldn't get inflammation to go down. They almost had to do a rotator cuff repair. Thank God they didn't have to do that, and they had to cut about 1 inch of my clavicle out from where it broke, and just didn't heal back right. But yeah, that's by far the worst one.
Who were some guys you followed growing up, or some of your favorite gimmicks?
My guys I followed growing up. Obviously, Macho. I was a Macho Man guy. I didn't really care much for Hogan. Because to me, Macho Man, you know, in that era, you know, Randy, he had it all, man. I mean, he could go in the ring. He had the best promos, in my opinion, at that time of wrestling. Had the character down. I mean, he had a lot of flash, and you know, as far as like in the ring with his work, I mean, he could back it up. And you know, I really enjoyed him. I was a big Owen Hart fan growing up. Who else? I liked Brett and Sean. There's a lot of guys I really enjoyed watching, but probably my favorites for sure were Randy and Owen. I think, in my opinion, Owen wrestling ability. Owen was the best of the Harts, by far.
What has been some of your favorite states and companies to work for?
I really, I mean, I'm currently at IWA Mid-South right now. I really love being there. They take care of me well, you know, and I'm getting to do some really good things up there right now. I really enjoy being there. I had a pretty good run with the NWA, and that was pretty fun. You know, I got to NWA Houston and Texas. It was pretty fun. I liked IPW. You know, I wish they were still running. Heartland was pretty fun. I'm trying to think of where else. I like being here at CCW. And I even had some fun working for APW. They're defunct, but they were out of Kentucky. Cashflow was booking there, and I got to work with some really good guys there. He got to put me with Paul Burchill, and I finally got to work Bull Payne after all this time. Been wanting to do that forever, and had some really good matches with them. They're definitely on the top of my list. That's pretty much it, man. Other places in Kentucky, you know, they're okay. UCW in Kentucky's not bad. And then Tennessee. I guess I just been down there too long. But, you know, but my NWA run was pretty fun.
What title that you held has meant the most to you?
one that meant the most, I would have to say that was probably during my NWA run. I During my NWA run, I got to hold the NWA Tennessee Junior Heavy. I held that 3 times. I held the Tennessee Heavy twice. I even got to hold the Southern Tag Titles even for 2 times, which was really fun. That belt's got some history, if you go further back. And when I got the junior, that really helped me. I got like a World Junior title match out of that. Kevin Douglas was the champion at the time, out of Houston, Texas, and I even was on the rankings for the top 10 there for a good while before the injury happened.
Who was your favorite guy to work with in the Indies?
In the Indies, so far I'd have to say Paul Burchill was probably my funnest. Really easygoing guy. For somebody who's been on TV and everything and had a little run with the WWE, he's like really humble guy.
Yeah.
And I got to work a little bit of the British style with him, which I'm a huge fan of. So that was probably my favorite guy I've got to work with. I can think of at this point.
Who are some guys you're comfortable around and enjoy hanging with in the locker
room? Obviously Nick Iggy, Kerry Awful, love those boys. I kind of helped when Kerry was very young in his career. I kind of helped him adapt to the style that he's working now, because I was the only guy in the area at the time that even worked the strong style, and I got to introduce him to it. I love traveling on the road with those guys, and John Wayne Murdoch, Josh Crow. I had a lot of good times with Chris Michaels and Todd Morton. Those are pretty much the guys I've really surrounded myself around, throughout my career, and it's always been a pleasure having them on the road.
What does Derek Neal do to stay in wrestling condition?
Well, I haven't been doing as much as I should as of late. I was, I guess, when I was at my best before I got hurt. I'm getting back around to that point where I can train a lot harder now. But I mean, I was in the gym 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week. I was doing cardio probably five out of those 5 to 6 days. I was at least doing cardio like 5 days a week. Heavyweight training, dieting down to a T, which I've got myself back on that boat. And I just most importantly, I wanted to make sure I had wind, because there can even be guys that are in shape that ring shape's like really different, in my opinion, to just being in shape.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have a lot of wind to go out there and bust your ass with a crowd.
Hey, man. Has the wrestling business ever created demons on your personal life?
No, not really. When I am married and I have 3 children now, but the only thing that caused a problem was just being on the road a lot. My wife, luckily, she's always supporting me through this. Because I mean, when we met, I hadn't been in the business but maybe like a year or 2. But I mean, sometimes she doesn't like me being on the road. But I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm not really. I'm not into drugs or. I mean, I used to drink. I gave that up, especially to get back in shape. It's hard to stay in shape and drink. It's nearly impossible. And I gave that up back in. I gave that up back in 2012. Whenever I was like in really good shape, and that was one thing for me. Like I did like drink quite a bit, in my earlier years in the business, and I always wondered why I couldn't look like a lot of other guys. I know they were probably gassing and shit like that, but I didn't want to really do that. I don't. I like to live to be an old man, hopefully.
Right.
Have grandchildren running around and all that good shit. But yeah, man, that's I did drink a lot, in my earlier career, but I mean that's really about it.
Who are some guys in the business you dislike?
Oh, um, mostly some younger guys in Tennessee. I really don't care for them. Matt Madison is one of them. He's never really made his way up this way much, but really disrespectful. It's just like a lot of young guys are just really disrespectful, and they get like so defensive whenever a veteran wants to critique their work, because I mean, fuck, they're doing it to try to make them better. You know, they want them to get better. I mean, because if they truly hated you and they did not give a shit, they wouldn't even waste their air to tell you what you need to work on. That's pretty much it, man. A lot of younger guys. Never really had much heat in the business with anyone. I've got along with everyone pretty great. I mean, and the guys that are dicks, I just overlook it. I let it go in one ear and out the other. I'm just there to give my best to the fans, and uh, take care of just take care of business out there and make sure that the fans got their money's worth on my part, and the guy I'm in the ring with, and that's all I can control. I can't control what other people do, but it's just mostly younger guys, man. Like the Matt Madison kid I mentioned. Another one named Sean Fatal. I'm not very high on him. And these guys, I don't know. They're wanting to try to make their way up north, and they've got egos.
Yeah.
Just these younger kids. And that's the thing. That's another thing too. Like, I don't know if you've traveled to a lot of different shows, like in different like regions and stuff, but this is just my opinion. Like in the South, and I'm not saying everybody does it. I'm cool with a lot of guys, but there are some that do have like egos and stuff, and like it just seems like more the further north you go, man, you don't really see that. Boys are boys, and trying to do what's best for the show, things like that. Um, I mean, I'm not saying that's every place I've been to, but that's usually like the when I'm trying to say as far as the guys in the South, it's usually like the big fish in the small pond that don't want to travel anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's usually the younger guys. It seems like young guys don't want to travel anymore. And to me, in my opinion, that's the best part of the business is being on the fucking road, man. I love it.
Who's the best and worst promoter you've worked for?
Best and worst promoter. Um, Probably my best. He's out of Tennessee. He really took care of me really well. His name's T.J. Weatherby. I've known TJ ever since I started, man, in Nashville. I've known him like my whole career. He always took care of me good as far as money. I'd bring my kids down on the road. He always treated us like family, man. I mean, my kids would raid the concession stand, after the show. He never even cared. He was just he'd give them whatever they wanted when they wanted. Sometimes he'd grid me and give them all kinds of sugary candy to keep me up, keep them up on the way home.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, he was always really good to me, and always treated me like family, and I like being up here, like and Jimmy. There's a lot of good guys I've come across, man. To be honest, Jimmy's always been really good to me, and he's always taking care of me too, man. And I consider him a very dear friend, and um, I can't really think now worst promoter I do have one as far as on the worst end. That is a local guy in my hometown. I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and his name was he went by the name of J.W. Wildfire, and he was the god awfulest promoter ever. Um, he he never ever advertised his shows, never put the footwork in, and expected to draw. I've seen him screw so many guys out of pay, including myself. Um, he was a real piece of shit. I mean,
Right.
just straight up.
Have you worked with any legends? If not, who would you want to work with?
I've got to work with a few, man. I've been very fortunate. I've got to work Nightmare Ted Allen, um, Tracy Smothers, Ricky Morton. Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich. Um, got to work with Tony Falk. I'm trying to think of who else. There's some other guys I can't think. Oh my god. Man, I can't think of any more. I guess. But yeah, I've got to work with those guys, man, and it's always a great learning experience too. Every time, and like every time I ever worked with those guys, I always got to. They would always like tell me a thing or two, man. I got to take with me, and I would make damn sure that I tried on. I would get those little small things in the next time I performed. The next match I wrestled in, and those small things make such a big difference. Huge difference. Todd Morton's another one. I consider him that in my mind in this area. I've got to be around a lot of good veterans in my time, and I'm glad that I kept my mouth shut, man, and my ears open to listen.
Right.
I'm so grateful I got to do that.
Who's the stiffest or toughest guy you've worked with?
I'd have to say Bull. Bull Payne for sure, hands down. It was snug, but like I'm different though, I like it that way. He was pretty snug, but it's it was in good places, he took care of me out there still. But yeah, he's probably one of the most like legit tough guys I've ever been in the ring with, man. And when I got to do, we tore it down. But not only did he, give it, man. He took it too. We just straight up just threw down, and I loved working with him. I think he was a lot easier on me than a lot of other guys because before I got to work him, I got to know him a little bit. We were in a stable together up at XCW, and so he liked me, which is with young guys, it's bull, But I was respectful. I wasn't a little shit and disrespectful, and whenever he gave me advice, man, I took it in completely because the places he's been, the things he's done, he's got to do a lot, and he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
What's your thoughts on WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor currently?
I think TNA is just awful. Just awful. I don't even keep up with it. WWE, I think they're kind of scaling it back to the old school a little bit, with some of their angles. And it seems like they might be onto something. I think, in my opinion, where they went wrong was with the network. I might catch some heat for that, but
I agree with you.
Where I think and I don't think they went wrong on the net, like letting the network out. I think it's where they're offering the pay-per-views with the network. I think that's where they messed up because you got to think about it. They're getting $50-$60 a pop on pay-per-view, and I really think they shot themselves in the foot doing that. And the thing I like about Ring of Honor is the fact that, and that's my style,
Yeah.
So obviously, I really love Ring of Honor, and the thing I like about it the most, not only those guys they're able to tell stories, but they're able to portray it more like a sport again instead of just a spectacle. It's portrayed as an athletic contest, which I think this business direly needs, for sure.
What's your thoughts on blading? Do you like it? And what's been your bloodiest match?
I'm not a big fan of it. I have done it only 4 times in my career. But if it is meaningful to a storyline and it means something and it's not just doing it just to do it, I don't have a problem with it. Probably my biggest color was probably just a couple weeks ago up at IWA Mid-South. I've been working with a program with Mitch Page, and which he's such a dick. Mitch is such a dick. But yeah, that was my best one.
What do you enjoy most about the wrestling business?
Everything, man. I like being on the road with, and having like some sort of camaraderie with the guys, and you know, I like being in front of a live crowd. I like being able to get good reactions, and you know, I like the athletic part to it, and you know, I mean, there's just so much that I love about it, man. It's I thought like after my shoulder, man, I was like completely like shot down because like the doctors told me that you know it wasn't looking good for me to ever be able to come back again. Because where I had the collarbone cut out, like part of it, it really made my shoulder unstable, and I was like I'm highly likely for more surgeries later on down the road in life. But you know, luckily through physical therapy, I was able to build it up really good, and you know, they told me I would probably be okay to do it again.
Outside of Derek Neal, in your opinion, who are some of the best heels in the Indies?
Best heels in the Indies. Hmm. I think Adam Cole's pretty hot right now, for sure. And you know, having Matt Hardy in there too, you know, at Ring of Honor, I think that's a really good thing. And you know, he draws a lot of heat. That's actually somebody else I didn't mention that I love working. I actually got to work him back in January of this year. It was a three-way match. It was with him and my trainer Chris, and I mean, it was a blast. But you know, he talked to me a little bit about that. You know, before our match, and when he told me it made sense. I mean, you know he doesn't really fly and stuff like he used to, and but you know he's like why should I do that if I'm a heel? You know, I shouldn't be trying to please these people.
Yeah.
You know, and he's right. You know, I mean, Matt's a very smart guy, man. I got a lot out of that night getting to work with him. I think you know, he's really good. I'm trying to think of who else is a really good heel at the moment. Because I haven't really been able to have a chance to follow other independents as of late, but those two really stick out in my mind.
What's your thoughts on hardcore wrestling?
Hardcore wrestling. I'm not a fan. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I said, you know, if it's building up to like a heated feud, I could see it. You know, like something like that. It's just not my forte. Um, I think you know I think the business might have been hurt a little bit from it. You know, but you know, I mean, but there's so many niches in the business now. I mean, you got the high flying, you got lucha, you got Japan, you got Europe, you got strong style, which is kind of adapted from Japan, and you know, a little bit, and it's just there's so many different genres now. I don't think it's like really a problem anymore because there's just so much of a variety of different types of wrestling matches, different types of performers, wrestlers. Um, but I think at one time it did a little bit, you know, because you can only do so much.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Before you kill yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like it was really cool, like ECW, man, when they did the big scaffold matches like they did and stuff like that. But like, you know, what are you gonna do after that? You're gonna throw him off the top of the arena through like 10 tables pyramided? You know, I mean, you can only go so far with it. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make there.
If you could work with one guy from the WWE, who would it be?
One guy from the WWE. I would have to say probably Danielson. Always been a fan of him. You know, ever since he's on the Indies, I followed him. But that would probably be my guy.
What's been your favorite all-time pro wrestling moment as a fan?
As a fan,
It's kind of hard.
I'm trying to think. Man, there's a lot. Man, you put me on the spot. I'm trying to think. Hang on. Damn it. There's so many. That's all I can say.
Right.
There's a lot, man. I can't really think of one in particular.
What's one word that defines Derek Neal?
Hardworking. You know, like I said, I haven't made it very far. I haven't really done a lot, but you know, I've always busted my ass every chance I got, and I've worked hard for years. Still am. The only time I took time off was because I was completely debilitated, hard headed, I guess.
How do you want to be remembered when you retire?
I just want to be remembered. I just want to be remembered as a guy who's hated. Hated but respected, I guess. Among fans, and that they know that I gave it all I had and I left it in the ring, every bit of it.
In closing, you have any last words, anything you want to say to your fans?
You can follow me on Facebook if I have any fans, and there's some, I'm sure, they're heel marks, but you can follow me on Facebook under my name, Derek Neal. Just look me up. You'll see a goofy guy in hot pink tights for a profile pic. You can also follow me on Twitter at DerekNeal91. Give me a follow, see what I'm doing. Come check me out at a show sometime.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it, man.